here's Ed Bernstein.
Hi, welcome to our show today. If you notice something in my voice, it's part of getting older, I think. And here to talk to me about it is Dr. Bill Thomas. Now, I wanted to ask you, the wind in town has been very bad the last week, so I think I have some dust stored up in my throat. But I'm curious, as you age, do you get sicker more often or less often?
It's actually kind of a mixed bag. Older people tend to get fewer viral infections, like common cold type infections, because a lifetime of being exposed to the viruses offers some immunity. But on the other hand, older people are more likely to live with chronic conditions.
And you're less able to fend them off as you get older as well,
you know,
your immune system's weakened?
You're putting your finger on a really important idea, which is one of the things about human aging is that our reserve capacity is smaller when we're old than when we're young. And as a result, we experience illness and injury differently when we're old than when we're young, because we don't have as much reserve in the tank, so to speak.
How did you get involved into the aging of the medical aging?
Yeah, I actually started as an ER physician and really loved it. And you know, about 23 years ago or so now, I actually took a part-time job in a nursing home and just fell in love with taking care of older people, changed my career, and I've been loving it ever since.
Now, nursing homes seem to get a pretty bad rap. It's like the last resort to some people of where you want to send your family, your parents. It seems to have so many stories about elderly that go into nursing homes and just kind of dissipate and deteriorate at that point.
Yeah, I think the big story about nursing homes is many of the people who work there are great people. I mean, just loving, kind people. The system they work in is terrible. The system really focuses everybody's energy around the medical issues and often leaves people actually dying of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And we have to change that system.
And you have you're in a video called Alive Inside. Does that kind of indicate some of the changes you'd be advocating for this?
We're really taking a more optimistic view.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the video and we can talk about it.
Okay.
What do you think of music?
My heart belongs to music. I love it.
Have you ever had music just hit you in a place that immediately brought you to tears? Music has that power.
Music connects people with who they have been, who they are, and their lives. Because what happens when you get old is all the things you're familiar with and your identity are all just being peeled away.
Our healthcare system imagines the human to be a very complicated machine. We have medicines that can adjust the dials. Blood pressure, oh, turn that down. Blood sugar, oh, turn that down. We haven't done anything to touch the heart and soul of a patient.
One resident that barely opened her eyes, she didn't respond. Knew her for 2 years. Once we put the iPod on her, she started shaking her feet. She started moving her head. It was amazing.
Music has more ability to activate more parts of the brain than any other stimulus.
Who am I? Who am I? I'm your daughter.
By exciting or awakening those pathways, we have a gateway to stimulate and reach somebody who otherwise is unreachable.
It can't get away from me if I'm in this place.
It takes me back to my school days. Oh, God, that's beautiful.
Does it make you happy to sing for us?
Yeah. I'm crying.
Every human being needs stimulation from the outside, from little babies to old people.
American culture is wrong. There is actually life beyond adulthood. There's the opportunity to live and grow and become elders. The aging that we experience holds in it very important learnings and lessons.
There is no pill that does that.
Excuse me.
Well, is there a culture that does a really good job of caring for the aged?
I actually have been able to travel around the world and I believe the people who are doing it best are the Scandinavians, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. And the reason I think they're doing a good job is they largely integrate older people into the community so that they're not moved out or separated. For example, you can go to an apartment building in Stockholm and find that older people with real advanced needs, for example, dementia, are living there, and they're getting supported alongside the kids. The daycare for the kids is right in the building, and the elders are there with them all day. And I think the approach that brings people back into the community is really the better way to go.
You know, I would guess that if you asked most Americans, you know, how do you think elderly should be cared for?
Mm-hmm.
They would have, you know, an answer that would indicate a lot of respect and
Sure.
they have experience, they have wisdom. I think they feel that way, but in practicality, we don't act that way.
Right.
You know, you look at some of these old, you see some National Geographic, some of these old, you know, African tribes and things where the elderly are respected,
Right.
and you know, and you know, the wise men of the village.
Sure.
So if we think that way, but we don't act that way, where's the dissonance?
Well, I think there's two things there. Number one, there's a tremendous irony. We've made a world where millions of people get to grow old. This is brand new in human history. Never happened like this before. And at the same time, we've undermined the value of age by fostering a culture that worships youth. So it's actually our obsession with youth that's the problem, not aging. Aging has a very wonderful, as you point out, worldwide history going back millions of years. What's strange about our American culture is how we attach everything that's good to youth and deny anything that's good to age.
And is that the fault of the media, essentially?
Actually, I'm going to blame the most popular villain in
The
America.
Kardashians?
Well, no, I'm going to blame the post-war baby boom generation.
Okay.
What really happened is after World War II, as that generation came up of age, they really pulled the culture toward an embrace of youth and the value of youth. And now that same generation is sort of stuck, growing older in a society that has been pulled toward youth.
Is that developed from a fear of dying?
Well, it's pretty clear that the people who fear dying most are young. I'm a geriatrician, so I spent years taking care of really old people. Really old people tend not to fear death very much. It's younger people who really fear death, and so the fear of death is a part of youth, not so much age.
But the fascination with trying to stay young really rests with the younger people, not the older people?
Well, no, I'd say it rests with the whole culture, but it's the idea that the only valuable things are the things that are attached to youth. So I'll give you an example, really clear example of how this works. If you talk or listen to or talk about older people, you'll hear people use the word still. Like Fred's 86, and you got it ahead of me. He still drives. He still works. And what you're saying is that older person is only worthy because they're still doing the things that young people do.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that example. My mother's 90 years old, and still drives.
Well, there you go.
But
I say,
is that
good
a good
for
thing?
her. Yeah, it's a good thing. So here's the funny thing.
Maybe a bad thing if you're on the street with her.
Well, actually, I'm assuming she's a safe driver.
Yeah,
great.
I'm kidding.
So, but here's my thing. You can say the same sentence. My mom's 90. She drives.
Right.
And now I'm like, oh, great. But when we say she still drives, then we're saying something about age that's not very nice.
How much of this came culturally from, you talk about after the war, when it seemed like when I think about my parents, your parents, their goal was to hit 65, retire, and then head down to Florida and do nothing the rest of their lives until they died, right?
Right.
That doesn't seem like an ideal situation to me.
No.
It's not my goal.
No. So people talk a lot about this now. The idea of retirement is being retired. We're moving away from the idea that you work for a certain number of decades and then stop work. Right. And it doesn't mean necessarily that the work you do after full-time paid employment is for money. I mean, I think that older people in America contribute a gigantic amount of value to their neighborhoods and their communities and their families and their churches. And it's really that contribution that doesn't get counted. People ignore that contribution unfairly, I think.
Yeah. Well, you look at some, even now at the presidential candidates. I mean, our last president was quite young when he was elected. Now you have Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, 74, Hillary Clinton, 69.
Sure.
Donald Trump's, what, 69? Or,
yeah, 68, 69.
Yeah. So is this a pendulum kind of thing? Like, you know, we're going back and forth on what we're looking for?
Well, there's always a saying that whenever you have a presidential election, people are always looking for the opposite of whatever the former president was. Right. I think there's part of that. But I also love it, that the idea that these are skillful people, all the people mentioned, who've got a lot of experience, have done a lot of things. And I love the fact that America does not seem to be holding their age against them. I'm all for that.
How old are you?
I'm 56.
Okay. So when you look at your future, you look at yourself at 75, do you have an image already of what you want to be doing in your 70s?
I kind of do. And I'd say a couple of things about that. Number one, I'm 56, and I am an old man.
Why do you say that?
Well, because if you look at all the people who've ever lived around the world and through history, I'm already really old. Of all the humans who ever lived, not very many got to be 56. So number one, I take pride in the fact that I'm 56 and I'm old. The better news, by the time I hit my 70s, statistically speaking, I'm going to be happier than I am now, and I'm pretty happy already. So the 70s are a happier decade than the 50s. Statistically speaking, the unhappiest decade of life is the 40s. So you mentioned 75. I'm really hoping that when I'm 75, I'm a pretty happy guy.
And I'm going to ask you, I have another video I want to show, but after that, let's come back to what steps you can take to assure yourself that you'll be happy at 75.
Sure.
But you have the school in, what is it, Alive Inside, the one school, Harrodsburg, California. What exactly is that?
Well, basically what we're trying to do is show people that these elders, who many people would give up on and say we're not really connected to the world or not connected to people, that simple things can make a big difference. So it's all about helping young people understand aging in a new way and connect with elders in a new way.
Okay, so let's take a look at this, the interaction between some young children and some older people.
Yeah, great.
I had a physician who's a neurosurgeon come in and speak to the kids about Alzheimer's. Tony and Rob from Healdsburg Senior Living came in and they went through a simulation with the students.
And the goal is that maybe you can get a little bit of an understanding of what it's like to have Alzheimer's and sort of the confusion that goes along with it. Just to show you how difficult it can become when you have all kinds of things, all kinds of input that can create some confusion. So that when you're working with the folks that you're paired up with and other people that you encounter in your life, maybe have a little bit of an understanding of what they might be feeling if they have Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis.
They put a bag of beans and rice in the kids' shoes, so that simulated that, you know, as you get older, it's a little bit harder to walk. They put goggles, and inside the goggles there was tape, so you didn't have peripheral vision.
Yeah, we've taped over the goggles so that you can only really see a little pinpoint. Oh. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They had gloves that the kids put on, and two of the fingers on the gloves were taped together, so limiting their dexterity with their fingertips. And then they put on headphones with loud music that switched from one song to the next. Sometimes it was cafeteria noises, sometimes it was patriotic music, but it was very distracting. So then the students became a little disoriented.
This is hard.
and they were told to complete several everyday tasks: folding laundry, writing a grocery list, setting some place settings, and finding a certain tie or a certain shirt out of a pile of laundry. And they were amazed at how difficult those tasks became with just those limitations put upon them.
And frustrating. It was fun for the first 5 minutes, and then I just kind of like started irritating me, the rice and beans in my shoe, and I just kind of like started like walking around and just trying to figure out where I was and what I was doing.
So when the students were learning about the brain, we showed the film to them. And I couldn't believe how inspired and moved that they were to take action.
Like, I have my space, you have your space, and then you show me.
Well, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna get you some of your music and see if it helps you, okay? Yes, we are. It's gonna be awesome. Do you remember Neil Diamond? Her name is Gloria. She's about 86 years old. Me and Sophia, my partner, and we came here about 3 weeks ago. The first and probably the second visit, the only word she ever said to us was butterfly. When we walked her out in the garden, she saw a butterfly, and that's all she told us, about one word. Then about 2 lessons later, last lesson we gave her the music, and that just totally, she started talking to us, and she started just saying stuff we never knew. How she has a ranch in Alexander Valley where she grew up. Do you want to keep listening to this song? She loved to garden, and it was just, we learned so much about her through the music, and it's the music has helped her so much.
You said you played the sax. Did you play any concerts or anything?
Yeah, saxophone.
I can't sing. You know the lyrics. What did you sing, Jude?
I don't know the lyrics.
Oh my gosh.
We just had a big performance too, and I played the saxophone.
You did?
Yeah, I played the saxophone, and we just had a big performance.
That's pretty remarkable considering that these are 12, 13-year-old kids. So I was inspired by the relationships that I saw between the students and the elders, because it's not something that you see every day, and I think we need to see more of.
When we left, she kissed us and was like, "Thank you so much. Like, you just made my day amazing." And it's just an amazing opportunity. There's nursing homes all over America. You can do this. It's not hard, and it's an idea that can spread into something huge.
Why is music so important?
Well, music is important to every person on the planet, as far as we can tell. We seem to be particularly prone to connecting to music in ways that we don't when we use language or with written text or even images. There's a part of music that seems to really stimulate a part of the human brain that can make us feel deep emotions. And the interesting thing about the clip where they were showing how the reaction of older people to music is that even when we've living with dementia and we've maybe lost some of the cognitive abilities that let us use language, the music goes straight in, right into the brain and really activates parts of the brain that are important to us.
We talked earlier about some tips on how to age well.
Well, you know, you've got a geriatrician here with you today, and one of the things that I've really enjoyed in my career is not just studying the science of aging, but also learning from older people. So as you said, we were chatting earlier, and I wanted to share sort of what I've learned from elders about having a good old age. And I used the word mesh to describe what's important. And it's M-E-S-H. The M stands for move. And if you want to have a good old age, you have to move. I don't know if a little while ago there was a story about a 106-year-old woman who went to the White House and was dancing in the Oval Office. Right. The thing about that is, if you want to do that, you have to dance when you're 105 and dance when you're 104. So moving is, as a geriatrician, I can't tell you how important it is.
Keep those joints lubricated.
Yeah. You know, ironically, if you think about osteoarthritis, it's actually better for the joints to use them than to not use them. If you stop using them, the changes in the muscle and the ligaments actually make the arthritis worse.
Right.
Number two, eat. I'm a huge fan of food. Food is great, especially for older people. There's never a more important time to pay attention to what you eat. And I have really simple diet advice for everybody watching, which is eat a variety of foods, mostly plants, not too much. That's
healthy in moderation.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. The next thing is sleep. And here's where Americans are really falling down, and oh my. And I want to say to everybody who watches your show, poor sleep is not a consequence of age. If you're having difficulty with sleep, there's some common sense things you can do for yourself, and if that doesn't work, you need to really see somebody about it, because getting good sleep is essential to your health, your mental health, your mood. For example, research shows that people who don't get enough sleep look at the world in a more negative way than people who do get a good night's sleep. Lastly, heal. I'm a doctor, trained geriatrician. I don't heal anybody. People heal themselves. If I'm good at my job, I help them do that. I guide them, I assist them, but healing really belongs to you, and it's a part of your nature. And don't go thinking that the doctor is going to fix things. The doctor is going to advise you, offer you some pretty helpful tools, but the healing comes from you. So mesh.
Yeah.
That's it.
You talk about the healing component.
Yeah.
I've noticed with myself, as I get older,
Yeah.
and I get certain health conditions,
Sure.
doctors prescribe medications.
Oh my.
And I'm always, like, in my mind, okay, how do I get off this as quickly
Right.
as possible,
Right.
whatever that medication
my gosh,
may be.
You're really talking about something that affects a lot of people. The key to medicine is to just use the right medicine at the right time, at the right dose, for the right reason, and no more. So the old idea was, I'm putting you on this pill. You're going to take it for the rest of your life.
Right.
Good practicing doctors now are constantly looking at every medicine and asking, do we still need this? Is this necessary? Can we back this off? Can we lower the dose? And if your doctor's not doing that, you need to have a conversation with that doctor.
I mean, there's ways oftentimes to rely on other means other than medicines.
You bet. You know, if I'm correct, there's medical marijuana law in the state, is that
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
I'm a big fan of any type of intervention, medical marijuana, herbs, vitamins, anything that works.
Meditation.
Meditation. The world isn't divided into, the world really is divided into things that work and things that don't work. And that's what we need to pay attention to.
And it's personalized.
Yes, it is.
Right? What works for one is not going to work for
Exactly.
the other.
Yeah.
Some pointers you talk about.
Sure.
You talk a lot about kids and how to protect them from that culture of being devoted to youthfulness.
Yeah, right.
Other than keeping them away from MTV, E! Channel,
Right.
Cosmopolitan magazine. What are you recommending?
Well, we talked a lot about how youth has impacted age, but kids are also affected. When kids don't get to be kids and they're supposed to be junior adults, and they're tested, and they are scheduled the way adults are scheduled. I'm a big advocate for open, free time for kids, and this is really important, kids getting to spend time with elders. It doesn't have to be a relative, but somebody you know well and trust, getting that intergenerational relationship.
Because in the day, you lived with your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents.
Yeah, it's not happening now.
Yeah. How about, okay, now once you're in your 80s, people say, hey, do crossword puzzles, learn the language. I mean, all that stuff work?
Sure. Well, it goes back to the move idea. Use it or lose it. So if those are things you enjoy, if you like that kind of experience, then keep doing it. There's unfortunately, no magic bullet. It's not like crossword puzzles will save you from ever developing dementia. But if it's something that gives you pleasure, keep at it. Don't let it slide away from you.
having seen so many elderly and I suspect dying patients, is there a time where people like are ready to die?
Oh,
and
sure.
know
Yeah.
How do they know that?
Well, first off, as a doctor, you're always careful to make sure that the person who's talking about being ready to die is not actually suffering from depression, because untreated depression is terrible and needs to be properly addressed. That being said, lots of older people say, "Hey, doc, I'm still here. I don't know why. I'm ready to go." And they're happy in their daily life, but they're also realizing that the end is near and they don't fear death. And young people have a hard time understanding that.
Is that because your body starts getting weak and older, and you kind of prepares you mentally?
Actually, there's a little bit of research there that says that older people start to view time differently, and they lose the illusion of immortality. And so they're like, "What, are you kidding me? I know what's coming. You know, do you think I'm stupid?"
So for more information about this, where can our viewers find this?
Well, a couple of places. We have a blog, as you might expect, that's really dedicated to these ideas called changingaging.org. And if you want to learn more about the work I'm doing, traveling around America, spending time talking about this, that's Dr. Bill Thomas.
Dr. Bill Thomas.
Yeah, .org.
.org. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas.
Thanks
this
for having
is
me,
a
Ed.
topic that we can go on another 2 hours talking about.
Sure,
but,
no doubt.
Hey, and hopefully we'll both live long enough to keep talking about it.
I would love that.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Whether you're on the road, watching television, surfing the web, or on the go, with our new app, wherever you are, we'll be there to help.
Enough said. Call Ed.